Okay, back by popular demand. This is a book haul for winter, fall and winter. So anyway, I'm just gonna jump right into it because there's more books. Anyway, the book I had the most fun reading so far, American Psycho. It's like 400 pages, but it's very easy and fun to read. And I would say watching the movie first doesn't really take anything away from it. It actually helps. Just it's cool having just like ready-made faces to put with every character you're reading. So anyways, great book. Shirley Jackson hangs a man. So there's this podcast called Once Upon a Time at Bennington College, and that's what got me into Bret Easton Ellis this year. Was he went there, and anyways, Shirley Jackson went there very, very long time ago when it was like a newer college, and this book basically takes place kind of like it's supposed to almost take place like at a fictionalized version of Bennington College. So yeah, Bret Easton Ellis went there. This is his first book he was working on when he was a student there. Actually, it blew up when he was still going to Bennington College, and he was basically like a famous college student. Like he would just be in like his dorm, journalists coming to interview him and stuff. Haven't read this yet. We'll see. Something about reading first books, it's like, man, if it's really good, you're like, man. Anyway, another Robbe book, Jealousy. I forget exactly. Oh, did someone write something in here? Oh, it's always fun. I'm pretty sure this is a book. I haven't read. There's no synopsis on these French books usually. It's about a guy spying on his wife through a closet in his house, like the whole book. So, story of the Quran. Just figured I'd pick it up. I mean, self-explanatory, right? All right, so let me dig under here. Anti-Oedipus. Crazy book. I guess what you could say, if you don't know what it is about, really, it's a way of almost endorsing schizophrenic modes of thought to deal with life in capitalism. So what would seem like disordered, unorganized thought is actually how you can thrive in a capitalist landscape. Someone might tell me that's way wrong, and maybe it is, but from what I hear and read, that's kind of the simplest way I could put it. So anyways, within that book, they make reference to this guy, Daniel Paul Schraber, Memoirs of My Nervous Illness. Now, this is a book, it's just a guy writing, it's like basically journals of a madman, like his schizophrenia or whatever he had, or psychotic episodes, and he would just write about them when he was in a hospital. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just flipping through it. All right. The Origins of Evil in Hindu Mythology. Self-explanatory title, right? Yeah. So I figured this would just be kind of cool to know. And what made me buy it was I flipped over the back, The Sword and the Flute by David Kinsey. I have two of his books, and so I'm like, oh, okay, well, this probably is, pretty good if it's all part of the same family. We got some underlining throughout, but the book is in pretty good condition. Yeah, so I just figured it'd be interesting to know about this, the origin. This is one of the things that religions, well, how do you account for evil? We all hear that all the time, so I figured it'd be fun to hear the Hindu version. Okay. George Bataille, Story of the Eye. Short, weird book about just like sexually perverted people. It's like a couple of a man and a woman, or rather probably like late teens, they must be in this book, and they just do all these weird, stupid sex things, like the eye and the egg and the sperm are all sort of intertwined, and so like the girl likes sitting on hard-boiled eggs and pissing on them, and then the guy fucks her, and just weird stuff like that. I don't know. I found it kind of a disappointing book. I was just like, okay, whatever, but I don't know. Short, so it didn't eat up too much time really. But then here's probably his most famous book, which I was lucky enough to find in the original French, and this was only like $7, which was a really great deal. I mean, look at this. This is in perfect condition. If you order this on Amazon, you'd be paying like $20 plus $12 shipping or something stupid like that. But yeah, let's see. What would they say it's about? So yeah, it's like kind of like the mix of death, violent death, and the effort to liberate, all manifested in erotism, or I don't know if you would translate that as eroticism. I don't know if erotism is different than eroticism. I think it is. So anyway, look into that more if you want. There's a good channel on YouTube, Esoterica, that Jewish guy. What is his name? Justin Sledge, I think. He loves Bataille a lot. He gets into him. So go check that out. See if this piques your interest. That type of stuff. All right, now to some very just normal shit. Like, this is just, I heard about these paperbacks from hell a long time ago, and I never bought any of them. But every now and then you just want to read just like a normal, like, a horror book from like, the 70s or 80s. So I read this. Actually, it was disappointing. This was very boring. But I read it around Halloween, and it reminded me a little bit of The Exorcist. It reminded me a little bit of it's basically just a detective novel written very like plain as what you would expect from a police drama, what's the word? Procedural. But the guy they're chasing is a vampire, so it's written very bluntly, plainly. So in that sense, it is interesting and fun to think about, because you just think, what if we just wrote, like a very serious police procedural, but the guy that they're looking for really is a vampire, and it's not like he thinks he's a vampire and he's a madman. It's like, no, it literally is a vampire. So kind of fun, but I just thought the name was so awesome. Progeny of the Adder. That's a badass name, and I'm pretty sure it's from a Baudelaire poem. Yeah, the adder spawned her progeny, sorry. So I was like, bro, that title's sick. All right. Got some Rougier in English here. Short little book, Recollections of the Golden Triangle. This is apparently just like a weird sort of, with him, you never really know it. Everything, it's, he's a very postmodern novelist. So it's supposed to be like a surreal detective investigation or something. I don't know. We'll check it out, though. I'm kind of excited to read that. The Alcoholic Experiment. Self-explanatory. A 30-day alcohol-free challenge to interrupt your habits. It's like if you drink too much, you're supposed to go through the book and just, go through 30 days. It's supposed to help you reintroduce into just, like, feeling normal and, like, passing the time without just drinking. The Man Who Went Up in Smoke. This is written by a pair of Swedes, May Sjöwall and Per Wallo. I don't know what these umlauts in Sweden mean in Swedish. But I think there's 10 Martin Beck police mysteries. The number one is called Rosanna. It's in my backpack, so I don't have it here. But I'm reading that one right now. But, yeah, something about him, I'm just like, oh, this... Well, first of all, it's vintage crime. I mean, they put out good stuff. This is where you get, like, your Raymond Chandlers, your Dashiell Hammetts, Dorothy Hitchens, stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try it. And, yeah, maybe I'll report back later. I'm reading the first one, like I said, so... Sometimes you just want to read something normal, you know. All right, here we go. Patricia Highsmith. She wrote a book on plotting and suspense writing. And, you know, how she uses just some, I think she reads like uses a portion of a work that she's either in the process of writing to explain how she goes back into, oh yeah, case history, The Glass Cell. So yeah, kind of talks about how she gets the idea, how she plots it, first draft snags, as you can see, and then a case study. So I've had this in my cart on Amazon for a long time. I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna get it. I've read a couple of her books. Damn, what was the name of the one? Suddenly It Sleeps or something like that? I did mention it in the podcast I did on this channel about like the best books I read. But anyway, so that's in there. Now here's a really wild book. So, from what I could gather, this is the name of the book. It's a book of poems by Jacques Roubaud. But check this out. These poems, you see the white circle there in the middle of the page, and then, oh look, a black circle. Now why? Why is there black and white circles? Well, each poem corresponds to some sort of movement on the board for the game of Go. Isn't that insane? So we're gonna have to go through this one day and just check it out. I've never seen a book like this before, so I was like, well, I gotta grab that. Oh, 1 second, guys. Turn that off. Shit was skipping, bro. All right. We got an anthology of Greek poetry in French. I mean, what else can you say? Just been flipping through this. But it's modern. Yeah, so from 1945 to 2000. So, yeah, you know, a lot of people I've never heard of in there. Here's another paperback from hell, The Reaping. Don't know what it's about, really. I just remember of all the ones I read the descriptions of, I was like, all right, I'll try that. I mean, you know, just another simple little light read of some horror, you know. All right, here's an old Gothic novel, Vathek. I'm pretty sure it's about a guy, he's like a caliph. Yeah, Caliph Vathek. Just lives like a very hedonistic, debauched life. It's a short read, only about 100 pages, I think, because, you know, you just got all these notes and then a big intro and shit like that. But, yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a while, so I grabbed it. Check it out. You know, it always says Lord Byron called it his Bible, and you're like, okay, Lord Byron. Didn't he have a limp? Anyway. Sleazoid Express, a cool, fun book, a mind-twisting tour through the grindhouse cinema of Times Square. Very cool, fun book. I've read, like, the first few chapters. Already, I'm getting all these movies that they talk about that you just want to watch, like, those Olga movies about, like, a slave dungeon where this Mistress Olga, like, you know, whips chicks with their tits out and stuff. And, this guy Romero, the Romero brothers or something, and then this other guy Mike something made all these movies. Oh man, maybe I could just find one, because if you're watching this, maybe you could just get a good recommendation from the book. The Lusting Hours. Yeah, the Amaro brothers. They would just make these like low budget, crazy, like erotic slashers. Yeah, Mike Findlay, is that his name? Yeah, Mike Findlay. Okay, yeah, here he is playing Richard Jennings in Where's Claudia? Oh, no, that's not what it's called. That's a line he's saying. Anyways, yeah, look up Mike Findlay movies. You know, they would just make them really guerrilla style. They would literally just be walking down the streets of like 70s, 80s New York to film this stuff. So there's the Amaro brothers. So you just get a real good feel of the time. You know, these movies are like time capsules of, you know, when New York was insane. Uh, and then the movies also just sound fucking crazy. So, yeah, cool, fun book. I like this kind of stuff. So, anyways, all right, here's a big classic. Knut Hamsun, Mysteries. He's a great author, Nobel Prize winning Norwegian writer. Very interesting, crazy man. He used to come to America every now and then. I know one of my favorite little anecdotes I know about him is he was in America and he was getting sick, like, you know, probably like a cold or a flu or something. So he rode on the top of a train with his mouth open, like for hundreds of miles just to get rid of it. I mean, could you imagine? That would be crazy. So, yeah, this one is apparently like a Christ-like figure comes to some small village and I think he poisons people or he has poison, something. I don't know. I've read The Growth of the Soil by him, awesome book, and Hunger. Everyone should read Hunger. It's easy, it's cool. It's his most, like, probably famous book, although he won the Nobel Prize for Growth of the Soil. But, yeah, so I'm excited to check more of his stuff out. Just finished this literally like 2 days ago. Crash, J.G. Ballard. I mean, come on, if you don't know. Now, actually, funnily enough, the character in there, Vaughn, reminds me of like a character that you would be in one of these movies. Or even like one of the crazy directors, like that Mike Findlay guy, could be this character from this book, Vaughn. So this is about people that get an erotic thrill from car crashes. You know, it's apparently like a famous cult novel. Now, it reads very, it is well written. It's not like, yeah, I've never read any of his books, but it was pretty high. I don't know how you would describe it. I'm not good at that kind of stuff, but it was like, you know, it wasn't written just sleazy or schlocky or like just, you know, a page turner. Like, it's almost poetic. There's a lot of really good mind-bending, you know, similes in there, and it's interesting. It was an interesting book. I will admit there were a couple times I just got a little bored, but I'm glad I read it. It was a fun book to read, and I would recommend it. Crash by J.G. Ballard. All right, Joan Didion. This is part of that whole Bret Easton Ellis vibe because he mimicked her style a lot. And so I'm like, all right, I'll check her out. And I did like this book, Play It As It Lays. It's a quick read, because you can see it's kind of sparse in there. I don't know, what could I say? Should I say what it's about? I mean, it's kind of just about this woman sort of, you know what? No, I won't go tell you what it's about. I would just recommend it because it's not a long read. You'll be done with it in like a few days to a week. And it's easy to read, and you should just check it out. So there. All right, Mark Fisher, The Weird and the Eerie. I've wanted this for a long time. You know, I mean, it's self-explanatory. First of all, Mark Fisher is really cool, interesting guy. Everyone go read Capitalist Realism if you haven't already. It's only like 60 to 90 pages, so you should just read it. And it's very good. It's very thought-provoking, very interesting. So I wanted to see what he had to say about the weird and the eerie. So he talks about David Lynch. Wow, look at that. I opened up right to there. No bookmark or nothing. Lovecraft, of course. Who else? H.G. Wells. You know, well, let's just look for the table of contents. Why would I just look at the header? Yeah, David Lynch, Philip K. Dick. Yeah. Oh, Tarkovsky. I mean, come on, Christopher Nolan. So, yeah, and as you can see, it's just, you know, small. Okay. The Book of Certainty, The Sufi Doctrine of Faith, Vision, and Gnosis by Abu Bakr Sirajuddin, also known as Martin Lings. Now, I've read a couple of his books. I've read his, I think it's, what's it just called? Islamic Sufism? I think that's all it's called, right? And I read his biography of Muhammad. That one was kind of a slog. But anyways, as you can see, again, a very small book. The reason I got this is Hamza Yusuf. Is that his name? Why am I not remembering any of these people's names all of a sudden? They seem just so easy that it's easy to forget them. What is that guy's name? I think it is Hamza Yusuf. I don't know why that doesn't sound right to me. Maybe it isn't. Anyway, he's a smart guy on YouTube, Muslim guy, but he said this is one of the first books he ever read about anything Islamic that made him start, thinking about Islam. After he was in a car crash when he was like 17, and doctors were like, oh, he's gonna die. He's literally going to die. Anyways, he's still around. Pretty cool guy. Yeah, Hamza Yusuf, that has to be his name. Alcohol Explained, William Porter. This is, so apparently this is like a two-part. Part 2 is about quitting. Part 1 is about just like how alcohol works on you, what it does. Alcohol and sleep, relaxing effects, cravings, all that kind of stuff. I've flipped through this here and there, and, some interesting stuff. So anyways, it's Alcohol Explained. There you go. All right, here's a cool one, and we're almost done. I've wanted this for a long, long time. But look at this thing. Jesus. It's like 1,400 pages. But it's a book you don't just read. This is a book you just flip through and read different passages, Like this, whether it be lawful to seek to saints for aid in this disease, that disease being melancholy. You could also just take it as depression. This is written in, I think, 1500, maybe 1600, something like that. Maybe if it says easily here. Nah. Anyways, it's something like that. 15, 16, 1700, something like that. So basically it's about depression, but that's what they call melancholy, because they'll talk about the humors and stuff, and, it's riddled with all these Latin quotes, which they very politely just translate right after. Thank God. I hate when they put that in the notes at the back, and you constantly just put it right there, Yeah, love melancholy, love's power and extent. Cool. I've just flipped through here so far, and it's fun to read. So, there you go. All right, the last two. These are dictionaries by El Mawrid. Does it say? Yeah, here, El Mawrid. One of them's English to Arabic, one of them's Arabic to English. When I went to a school for Arabic, there was a dude who was in the army there, and he had Mawrid, because I only have Hans Wur, but he had El Mawrid, and I was like, damn, look at the size of that. That's got to have way more words in it than I have in mine. Now, Hans Wur is the better dictionary because it's arranged by roots, but it's only Arabic to English. So with the Mawrid, you can get both sets and you can go back and forth, but it's not arranged by the roots. Exactly. It's in alphabetical order, but it's not broken down by the triliteral or quadriliteral roots as traditional dictionaries are. So anyways, this looks like, yes, this is the English. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is the English to Arabic one. So, look, even a lazy Susan is in here. And you would call it Asiniya ad-Dawara. Ad-Dawara. Asiniya ad-Dawara, which means like the spinning serving plate. Oh, look. Beaver, Kundus. Hippopotamus, Birniq, kangaroo, Kangar. Fascinating. Anyways, that, and then this is the other one. These are part of a set, I believe, both of them being the 1986 edition. Anyways, these just showed up at Half Price Books all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, damn, dude, I'm getting these. They were cheap, too. These were only like $8 a piece. So this is the Arabic to English. So cirrhosis, talayuf, fil tib. That means like it's a medical medical term. Fil tib. Anyway, so there we go, ladies and gentlemen. A longer one. stay tuned for, you know, I'm trying to knock out a couple more books for an end of the year thing, where I'm just going to say the best books I read all year, and then just also tell you about all the other ones, because it's not a shitload. So, you know, whatever. And I do have some more, well, who cares? Yeah, I'm going to try to upload more shit, but yeah, just getting lazy. All right, happy holidays, everybody. Peace.